Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 2 of my How to Play WarFlux series. If you haven't seen episode 1 yet, I would suggest taking a few minutes to watch that video, as I wouldn't want anyone to be lost while I'm explaining things. In today's episode, we're going to go over what you'll need to actually play the game, how to set up the board, where the cards go, and the turn rotation. So, let's jump right into it. Starting off, we're going to take a look at what you'll need to begin playing WarFlux. First thing you'll need is a champion. It can be any champion you'd like, but choose carefully, as you cannot change your champion once the game begins. Next, you'll need a deck. Your deck can contain any combination of cards that you'd like, but there are a few rules that you need to be aware of. Your deck must contain at least 40 cards. However, there is no upper limit to how many cards you can have in your deck, meaning that if you really wanted to, you could have 100 cards in your deck, although it's not recommended. While you can have any cards that you'd like in your deck, you can only have 3 copies of any given card within your deck at a time. A special note on that is that there are certain cards that you are only allowed to have 1 or 2 of, but we'll go over that in a future video. Next, you'll need any combination of 10 flux cards, but be aware, as stated in episode 1, creatures can only be paid for using flux that matches their alignment, and you cannot change your flux during a game. You wouldn't want to run a creature that costs 5 arcane flux and only have 4 available to you. You wouldn't have any way of summoning it. Finally, you'll need a battle die, a unique 6-sided die that has 3 green faces, 2 blue faces, and 1 red face. This die is used during damage calculation, but we'll go more in depth about that in a future video. So, now that you have everything required to play, let's take a look at how you set the board up. The game begins with each player revealing their champion. Your champion goes directly in front of you. This card acts as your total health point pool, and most champions come with game-altering abilities. Next, you'll place your flux into the inert flux pile. This is where flux stays until it is activated. We'll go over activating flux in the next section of this video, but when flux is activated, it is placed into the flux zone where it stays for the remainder of the battle. Next, after shuffling of course, you'll place down your deck. Next up is the sorcery zone, where sorcery cards are played. There is no limit to how many sorcery cards can be on your field at once. Finally is the creature zone. When a creature is summoned, it is placed into the creature zone exhausted, unless that creature has a trait known as Hustle, but we'll save traits for the next episode. Also, just like the sorceries, there is no limit to how many creatures can be on your field at once. Finally, the last piece of the board that you need to be aware of is the grave. This is where all cards go once they are destroyed. Now that you understand the layout of the board and where cards are placed, let's go over what you do, and more importantly, what you can and cannot do during your turn. During your turn, you'll enter 4 steps, which are as follows. The draw step. During your draw step, you'll draw 1 card from your deck and add it to your hand. The refresh step. During your refresh step, you'll refresh any exhausted cards on your field, whether they be creature, sorcery, or flux. Also, you'll activate 1 inert flux this step if you have any left. Activating inert flux simply means choosing 1 flux from your inert flux pile and placing it into your flux zone. Then you have your main step. During your main step, you can choose to play sorcery cards, summon creatures, or activate champion abilities if they can be activated. There is no set way to play your main step. You could, for instance, summon a creature, then play a sorcery, then attack with a creature, then summon another creature, assuming you have the flux. And finally, the end step. This step declares that your turn is over and you're passing the turn to your opponent. Also, if there are any cards that have an effect which states during the end step, this is where whatever that card does would happen. Well, thanks for making it to the end of episode 2. Like I said, if you haven't seen episode 1, go back and watch it. Thanks for watching. In the next episode, we're going to go over actual gameplay mechanics. I know I said that my upload schedule would be Thursdays and Sundays, but I had a little free time, so I felt like getting this one out early. Um, you know, if you guys have any suggestions, anything that you might want to see, feel free to leave them in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Um, Until next time, guys. Peace.